We're gonna crush it. Hit
But
record.
it's recording. My question to you is, are you
Stop
ready?
playing. Stop playing. I'm ready. I was born
Because
ready.
we've been waiting for you for a long time. Doug and I have been sitting here waiting for you for quite some time now. And
he looks ready.
Stuart, it's how I feel being your business partner. I feel like I'm always waiting for something to happen. Like I'm always like on edge, like, oh my gosh, Stu's gonna do something awesome today. And then I go to bed disappointed. And then I wake up the next morning, like today's gonna be the day. It's gonna be amazing. Stu's gonna crush it today. I'm gonna be so excited. And then I'm disappointed, perpetually disappointed. That's my life.
you know, I'm not disappointed in. I'm not disappointed in Doug Spence. I'm not disappointed in Doug.
He's hard on you, Stu.
What's that?
He's hard on you.
I know, man. He's tough. That's what a good accountability partner is all about, though, I guess.
Don't buy it. Don't buy it. This dude for like for 20 years, this guy's been calling me fat, like all the time at the academy, like making fun of me. Like this guy's been like, don't even buy into this. Like,
Stu, is that true?
Somewhat true.
Somewhat true. Very true. Doug, would I ever lie to you? Would I ever lie to you?
I don't think so. No.
No, I wouldn't.
Well, hey, we got off to a really different start here. This is Filling the Storehouse podcast, and we have our good friend Doug Spence with us tonight. I don't know, I'm pumped about it. David, are you pumped about it?
Yeah, man, I'm super excited because Doug is a person that, there's a lot of amazing things about Doug, but Doug's someone that comes up in our conversations quite a bit. From a not only like just the ideal partner, military guy who's very entrepreneurial, crushing it, loves real estate, but has trusted us, invested in us, bought properties from us, but has also referred a number of people, and just a good dude, man. Like I'm super excited about Doug, not because of everything that he's contributed to us, which is significant, but like I get excited about seeing all the stuff that you're doing and just the way you crush it. Like the way you're looking at these new markets, the different deals you're getting into, all action oriented stuff. I mean, you're just a dude that takes action, and I love that. So I'm really excited to hear more about your story. I'm excited for our listeners to hear about your story. And Doug writes handwritten thank yous, which is like one of the most amazing things. Like we get these thank you letters from Doug, and it's just indicative of his character and just the kind of person that he is. So I'm super excited about tonight.
Man.
David, you wrote down in my to-do Storehouse thank you note for the hat. It's right here.
Nice.
We've hyped you up pretty big here, Doug. So no pressure.
I appreciate that intro, David, and thanks guys for having me on. I've been looking forward to being on the podcast for a while, and I think it's just something I've known that I needed to do, but it's one of those things that's like outside of my comfort zone. So I've been like reluctant to kind of, pimp you guys about it, but I'm glad I'm doing it. And I appreciate all the words you guys said. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Well, let's kind of start with just a little bit of your background. I mean, you were an early member within our War Room Mastermind, but you were also somewhat of an early investor with Storehouse 310. So if you could just kind of give our listeners just a little bit of background of who you are, where you came from, and what you do.
Yeah. I remember the days when there was like a 2-month waiting list for Storehouse properties. I miss those days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm originally from Houston, Texas. Went to Baylor for undergrad and then did OCS. Commissioned back in 2009, went to flight school, moved to Lemoore for a year, then went to Japan for 3 years, then moved to Pensacola in 2015, and that's where I got started in real estate. I bought my first property there. It was my primary residence there in Pensacola, and that's also where I started listening to Bigger Pockets and learning more about real estate and kind of shaping the vision for where I am today and then where I want to go in the future. And it was really listening to, I think it was a Bigger Pockets Money podcast that you were on, Stu. I believe that was the first time I had heard about you guys. And then I think I reached out to you on bigger pockets.
Yeah.
And so that's how we got started talking. And that's really, talking to you, Stu, and David as well, that's really what got me into real estate. It made me realize that this is something that is possible. I thought it was just, only super rich people could do. And I'm like, wow, these are like normal dudes that are just kind of like 6-7 years ahead of me in like the Navy time frame. And they're crushing it in real estate. And I was like, man, if they can do it, then I can do it. And so you guys have inspired me, significantly. So I appreciate that. But that's kind of my big picture background.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. And you bring up just a super like important point that I think people need to rewind and hear again, because business and real estate and entrepreneurism, all these things are easily within the reach of someone if you just take a little action, like, and just reach out to someone who may be just a couple years ahead of you and offer value to them, and then receive value back, and in turn you can do massive things, and you're proof, right? And we'll dig into like where you are now versus when you started, and it's been a pretty short time period, but I think listen to that and rewind it a little bit. You just started with one primary residence in Pensacola. When was that? 2000.
I closed on that property in October of 2016 on a conventional loan, and then lived in it until September of 2018 when I moved to San Diego, and I've been renting it ever since. I did Airbnb on it as well that last summer, but I've been doing long-term rental on it ever since. It's been a fantastic property.
And did you buy that with like the mindset and the idea and the numbers and all that going into it, like that now that now, the stuff that you know?
So I had started listening to Bigger Pockets, and I kind of knew that the value in investing in real estate. I was starting to learn that, but the extent of my analysis was really, I was renting a similar house in a similar neighborhood for $1,500 a month, and I realized, wow, I could purchase a home in the same neighborhood that's larger and more updated, and my mortgage would only be $1,100 a month. So I was like, okay, I'm saving $400 there. And then I figured, well, when I move, I could probably rent it for maybe around $1,500 a month. And then boom, that was like my rental analysis. And I got lucky because it rents for more than $1,500. But I've learned a lot since then, but I really think I just got lucky with that property. And then fast forward maybe a year and a half, and I read David Green's book, Long Distance Real Estate Investing, and that book was a huge catalyst for me and a light bulb moment for you don't have to invest where you live. And I think that's a mental block that a lot of people struggle with. So reading that book, and then it was around the same time I listened to the podcast where you guys were talking about turnkey investing, reached out to Stu, and then kind of snowballed from there. So.
Yeah, and I think there's another huge point too that I think people are, for whatever reasons, whatever hangups, whether they're personal or their perception, but they are hesitant to reach out to people that they perceive to be, quote unquote, ahead of them or whatever, crushing it, whatever, right? I'm curious, like, what prompted you to take action to reach out to Stu? Like, what caused that like, what drove you to actually take action and reach out? Because it's such a huge point. Like, it can change a conversation with somebody can change your life, but people just are unwilling to have those conversations.
Yeah, I know exactly what it was. It was Stu was talking about his background in naval aviation, and I have a background in naval aviation as well. And so there was already that familiarity of like, oh, this person has a similar background to me. We're both in the Navy. We're both involved in aviation, and so there was immediately that. Without even talking to him, I was like, I can probably trust this guy, because we've kind of been through similar background. And then I remember the first conversation I had with Stu, and I don't remember if David was on the conversation as well at the time. I know we had conversations like the three of us, but I just remember thinking like, wow, these guys, I know I can trust these guys, like from that first conversation. So it was really that similar background, that military background, that kind of accelerated the trust, I think. And that combined with, getting some references and, the normal stuff that you read about. I think that's how I knew I could trust you guys and move forward with buying that first property with you guys in
And
Milwaukee.
just like super random question, but how much introspection had you done up to that point? Like how much time had you spent, thinking about like your why, and I'm curious if that contributed to that speed of trust as well. Like you knew what you wanted, you had an idea, because I think there's another. I feel, at least since we started talking, that you're an individual that like you had a strong why, you knew what you wanted to do, and that drove you to take action. But I'm curious if you had already established that, because and what I'm really trying to get at is I want to give people actionable steps to be like Doug, right? To have the confidence to reach out, to have the desire to do deals, to buy houses, to do different things, and I think that it's not natural. It doesn't necessarily naturally come to people, but like you just, I mean, your trajectory was like bam, right? And I'm just kind of curious how to bottle that up and replicate that.
So my why wasn't nearly as strong then as it is now, but I knew enough to know that I didn't want to work a W-2 job until I was 65. And I saw real estate as a way to supplement that and provide financial freedom to maximize time with, friends and family, and spending time with my wife, Caitlin, and just, not giving my time to some faceless corporation until I'm 65, and I was like, wow, this could be a good way to get out of that. And then, reading David Green's book, he's someone who I definitely look up to, in addition to you guys, as someone whose path I'm trying to, emulate. But the foundation of my why started then, but it was really just like, oh, I could buy 1 or 2 properties, and then that could supplement my income. And then that's kind of accelerated into, my why now, which is part of my why, which is I want to replace both my income and my wife's W-2 income by the time we're done with the Navy, so that, we don't necessarily have, we both still will work, but we don't necessarily have to work. And it just gives us more freedom to live where we want to live and do what we want to do, and not be subject to what some corporation wants us to do.
So you had the property in Pensacola, and then you reached out to us. We got you on the turnkey list, which was like a month wait at that time, and got your first deal done. And we got you back on the list for another deal, which was like a 3-month wait at that time.
Yeah.
And so you got a couple turnkey properties from us, and then we got you into the War Room Mastermind group, and then I feel like having you in, and I want you to kind of talk about your experience so far with just a mastermind and accountability, and having that group of people besides just David and I. But like, just like Goody said, like, we've seen your trajectory, just like from buying a couple turnkeys to now building your own team. And I want you to talk about it, like building your own team and doing all this other stuff besides just buying a couple turnkeys.
Right. So joining the mastermind in, was it April of last year, April of 2020, was, I think, the single best decision I made from a, business real estate perspective. And I know you had mentioned it last fall, and I was like, yeah, that is definitely something that I want to, be involved with. And immediately got in the Gold Squad. Shout out to all my Gold Squad bros. It's a great squad. And we do our weekly meetings. We hold each other accountable. We share our goals. We challenge each other. We share books that we're reading. One of the guys is doing like a master's level class, and he shares information from that. It's just like, it's a great squad. And I have an article about, should you join a mastermind group, and what is the value in that? And I think that is the single best thing, especially for someone in the military, where some of these mastermind groups are like thousands of dollars a month. Like it's crazy. And some of them, you get value out of it, but I mean, especially the war room, it's very reasonably priced. There's great people in it, people that are doing, there's people from just trying to get their first deal going all the way to active duty people who have taken down apartment complexes themselves, that like own apartment complexes themselves, and RV parks, storage units, like pretty much anything you can think of, someone's done it. So you guys were talking earlier about, finding someone that is, a few years ahead of you. There's so many people, no matter your skill level, there's people ahead of you in the war room. And so for anyone that's like a military member or veteran, and you're interested in real estate, I think that's the single best thing that you can do. And it's helped me tremendously to accelerate where I'm at now, and accelerate the business and that side of things. So yeah, been good.
That's awesome, man. That fires me up to because there's so many guys and gals in this group that are just we don't even know the deals. Stu and I were talking about it earlier, and we're like, man, they're literally in this group, there are millions and millions of dollars of deals being done, and the millions of dollars is simply it's just a measuring stick, right? It's the only consequence to that is the fact that there are just tons of real estate deals and partnerships that are being formed. And it's all because, people decided to join this group and got with some like-minded folks and are crushing it, man. And the power of accountability, the power of just sharing and fellowship is incredible. To see you guys take action on that is, man, I'm looking at the quote unquote newer people in the group, and I'm like, dude, I need to catch up with them because it's awesome. It's awesome, dude. And I love that. I just love to see that. So, you're a huge contributor on the other side of that as well. You're mentoring folks, you're bringing them up, you're challenging them. And that's it's pretty incredible to see that just come full circle. So I'm just curious, like, what are you, what's the goal now? Like, what are you looking forward to with, what are you trying to achieve? I know you're trying to achieve the passive income to replace your and your wife's income, but what does that look like?
Yeah. So my why is really, it's two-pronged. So there's the personal side of it where we, want to acquire real estate and, for ourselves so we can be financially free. But then there's also a strong desire to help other military members, their family members, and veterans learn more about personal finance, real estate, and investing. And that's a big reason why I started Honor and Equity, was to help educate members that are or military members that are interested in learning more about that. Because as you guys know, I mean, people in general make pretty bad financial decisions, and military members are no exception. You get the Mustangs with the 18% interest rate. And I think a lot of it is just people just don't know. They don't know that, the long-term impacts of these bad financial decisions. And so if you can just, get the word out, and maybe someone that's fresh out of the academy or something like that is like, oh, wow, this real estate thing is cool. If you can get, if that person can start getting educated on this stuff at 22, 23, like, they're going to be set, and that's just, I get really excited about that. I get really excited, just like you guys do, talking to, military folks in general that are interested in real estate, but especially those folks that are younger, where it's like you have so much time, compound interest is on your side, and there's really a lot of potential to help them grow. So that's another reason why I started Honor and Equity, was to just, help those people out. And I get a lot of energy and excitement from just having conversations with people about real estate, and I just really enjoy it. So
I'll give you a little time to plug Honor and Equity. Like, what is it, and kind of what's it all about?
Yeah. So background, I started Honor and Equity back in, I want to say June or July. So really just a couple months after starting, after joining the mastermind group. And one reason I started is because Stu had a Facebook post in the war room that was like, I challenge everyone to, start a thought leadership platform. And I was like, I'd been thinking about it. I was like, I should make a blog and just like kind of write about personal finance stuff. When I saw that, I was like, damn, I guess I got to do it now. They're
Yes.
challenging us. So like it worked. So like, honestly, it was that post. And I was like, like, how could this work? I could start it pretty simple, just get a WordPress blog and a little email address and write some articles that like my mom and my, family members will read. And like, if anyone else reads it and gets value from it, then it's worth it, So, and then that kind of, I was writing about an article every week or two and it was going well. And people, to my surprise, people other than my mom were also reading it.
They're also reading it?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then had a good chat with Michael Barnhart in War Room. And he was telling me he ended up pivoting into some multifamily stuff, but at the time he was looking into BRRRRs in Iowa. And he was living, I think he still does, but living in Europe, in England at the time. And I'm like, this guy is doing BRRRRs, putting a team together, and he lives in England. Like, why am I not doing that? Like, because the turnkey thing is great, but if I can only buy 1 to 2 a year, like, I'm not going to hit my goal if I'm just doing 1 or 2 a year. I got to step it up. And so he really inspired me to, that just goes back to being in a mastermind group and seeing what people are doing and seeing like what's really attainable and being challenged. And so that inspired me to really form the Honor and Equity LLC and then just start building a team, identifying a market, all that kind of stuff. So that's how that got started.
That's awesome, man. I love that. It's funny how these things grow too. And I think you're, someone like you who not only is putting out content that on things that you're learning and strategies that others can embrace, but you've also got that, the factor that people are going to trust. You're honest, you're open, you're transparent. You're not a know-it-all, right? You don't present yourself as, hey, I'm a guru, and you're being very real. And I think that platform is going to blow up, man. I love it. Be in our show notes as well for anybody who wants to check it out. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. And it's funny because I don't even know if my parents listen to the podcast, but we joke, we're like, man, I don't, we'll see where this thing goes. But I think when you don't have an agenda and you're just, you want to give and put content out there just that could potentially help others and build them up. Man, I think that's going to be an incredible thing, and it's going to continue to grow and it's going to turn into, the things that we're excited about, looking forward. And this may not be your vision, but we're like, hey, Stu and I are always like, hey, how are we going to partner with Doug? And we need to look at some bigger deals and to get it, fund some of his deals or find some partnership or some way that'll honor him and enable us just to, because you want to do business with people you like, right? Like I imagine that in the mastermind group, you probably enjoy those conversations and you're vetting them on a daily basis. You're vetting those partnerships to see if they're people you want to be tied to long term. So I think there's I think it's just an awesome thing. So what if you don't mind, just kind of talk to us about some of this team that you've built, these things that you're doing, where you're doing them, and just give us some insight into the practical side of what you're doing.
Yeah, kind of build on what you just.
Doug, I want to add to that. Like, I want this to kind of be a really action-based podcast where like people can take this and do the same steps for wherever they want to go. Right. So if you could kind of just, when you answer that question, like fill us in with like the action steps that go along with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So like David said, it's, I think there's a gem of wisdom in what David said. And that real estate it's not, at least what I've learned in, the 2 years that I've been doing it, it's not really about the numbers, it's about the people. And I think I learned that very early on with Storehouse, because, looking at the performance, I'm like, yeah, sounds good. I don't know what a lot of these numbers mean, but, I think I can trust Stu and David. And then it worked out, because I spent more time vetting you guys than I did, the numbers. And it's the same with like the team, building a team. Like it's the numbers are important, but it's not the most important part. It's the people on your team. So when I identified the market, Oklahoma City, just because it checked a lot of boxes for my personal investing strategy. And then when I was putting the team together, I really heavily relied on Bigger Pockets Forum, which is also where the first place I reached out to you, Stu. So there's just so many people on there that are eager to help other people. A lot of people have keyword setups where if you say OKC or Houston or wherever, like it'll pop up. So I just started asking on there, looking for real estate agents and property managers in Oklahoma City. And I got a lot of responses, and a few companies kept popping up as like, there's that one company again. And so I just wrote down, I think I ended up calling maybe 5 or 6 different companies. And I just had conversations with the owners or the managers, whoever would talk to me. Usually it was the owners of the company. And I just talked to them. I used the Bigger Pockets, one of David Green's books, the Burr book, where he talks about questions to ask. He goes through a lot of these steps in that book. That's a fantastic book for anyone that wants to do this, is the Burr book by David Green. But he goes through a lot of good questions to ask, like, how do you screen your tenants? How many properties do you manage? How do you handle maintenance requests? Why are you doing property management? If they're like, oh, to make money, it's like, all right, well, you're out. Yeah. So, and it's having a good conversation with them, and then making sure you get references and making sure you follow up on those references. So I asked every property management company I interviewed, I asked for 3 references of out-of-state investors, because that's me. So I didn't want it to be someone that lived there, that I didn't want it to be like their mom or their like brother. I wanted it to be someone that's in a similar situation to me. So out-of-state investors. So, and then I followed up with all those references, talked to them, hey, positive experience, bad experience, overall, what do you think? And they're not going to send me the contact info for someone that's going to like talk trash about them, right? But right. You still want to reach out to them, because you never know what they're going to say. So I'd say Bigger Pockets is a huge resource. And I got lucky, because once I had that conversation with the owner of the property management company that I ended up moving forward with in Oklahoma City, his name is Eli Davis, and he and his wife own a company called the Property Center there in Oklahoma City. And he was like, yeah, my wife is a real estate agent. Like, she can help you find deals. He's like, and I have this wholesaler guy. Like, he can help you find wholesale deals. I'm like, awesome. And then he's like, oh yeah. And because I asked about, if he has contacts for, lenders or maintenance guys, like dudes to do repairs on, if I'm doing burrs or flips. And he's like, oh yeah, I have a huge network of contractors you can use. And I was like, man, this sounds great. This is like one place where I can do all of this stuff. And that goes back to what David Green says, rock stars, no rock stars. So you just have to, use whatever means makes sense. I think Bigger Pockets Forum is a fantastic place. Find that rock star in that market, and they'll introduce you to other rock stars, and then do your due diligence, interview and get references. And don't be afraid to fire people either. Hire slowly, fire quickly. Something I've learned. I've fired people since I've started. I've fired a property management company, just like you guys have. And I haven't in Oklahoma City. Everything's been going well in Oklahoma City so far. But don't put up with someone that's not meeting your expectations either. It's just business. It's not personal. So hopefully, does that answer your question, David?
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. That kind of putting the team together, and so what's your focus with that team? Is it single family burrs? Are you looking at multifamily stuff? What are you getting into?
Right. So the criteria right now are looking at the northwest side of town and the south side of town, and looking at 1 to 4 unit properties, C or better neighborhood with some value add. And I'm pretty flexible on the value add. I don't want something that is totally turnkey, meaning it's like ready to go, you could buy it off the MLS and it doesn't need any work, because then there's no value to add to it. There's no equity that you can create by adding, by making improvements and repairing things. So I want at least cosmetic repairs, and I'm not quite at the level where I want to do a full gut rehab. I'm not. Once I get a few deals under my belt there, then I'll probably be more comfortable once I get the team fully vetted and make sure everything's running well. But yeah, that's the current criteria I'm looking for. I'm also considering Tulsa as a market as well. I know some folks that are investing there, and I think that could be, Tulsa is what OKC was 5 to 10 years ago. So I think there's definitely some value there as well. But I still need to do some more research with Tulsa, but we'll see. Yeah.
It's awesome.
What I want to kind of hit on and take a step back a little bit is this has all kind of happened within a pretty short period of time. I mean, I've been real estate investing and like losing lots of money and making lots of mistakes for like 17 years. And you've been doing this for like 3 years, 4 years, right? And it's amazing to me that again, just the trajectory that you're on, but it's not just like you've been educating yourself a lot, right? And learning and connecting and networking, and talk to us about that a little bit of like what that looks like as far as just kind of your self-education, but then taking that self-education and actually putting it into action, because that's where a lot of people like stop. Like they educate, but then they never actually do it.
Yeah. So I've always been a voracious reader, I guess is a good word. So I enjoy consuming information via books. I also enjoy listening to podcasts. So those are the two biggest ways that I consume information. So Bigger Pockets, Storehouse, BP Rookie, those are some of the ones I listen to the most. So, educating yourself, but then, knowledge isn't power. I think applied knowledge is power. So it's, you have to be able to take action, and I think it's not just taking action, it's consistent daily action. So having a strong why, which we already talked about, that's a key component, and then being able to take consistent daily action to achieve your goals. So one thing that I've done since joining the mastermind, I can't remember what inspired me to do it, but I started doing daily journaling, starting with the attention journal that Brandon Turner put out. And then I went to a different kind of journal just because that one's like really expensive. But I use the Panda Planner now, and it's very reasonably priced, but I write like every single day, every morning I write in it, and I write down, what my focus is, big picture. And then I write down what I need to do that day. And it's not just business, I'll write in like, do something fitness related, make sure you're reading every day, make sure you're drinking water, that kind of stuff. And then there's like quarterly stuff where you can plan out your quarter. You can write down your business. This version of the planner is the business version. So you can write down like, your company vision, core values, who do you serve, why you will succeed, and you just write all that stuff down. You can plan out your quarter, you plan out your month, and then you break it all down into like, what do you need to do today? And I think that's one of the biggest things, is it helps me stay focused on what I need to do, because I'm reviewing it regularly. And you don't need to do massive action every single day. You just need to do a little bit every day. It's that consistent daily action, and then having a strong why. I think those are the two biggest components.
Yeah, it's there's a lot there, and I think what you highlighted though, what I really appreciate is it was an iterative process, right? You didn't while your learning curve was significantly shorter than Stu and mine. I think
thanks to you guys though.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. I mean, I guess there is some benefit in all our mistakes, so that's good. Like, we can take some comfort into that. But I think that there's I think people get overwhelmed when they look at and they say, they look at they take a snapshot in time and they say, okay, today Doug Spence is XYZ. And without really backing it up and saying, okay, there's some consistent 1% better every day type stuff that's taking place. And so I really hope that our listeners really listen to that and take heed and really are encouraged by that. Cause like I'm encouraged, like I'm sitting here thinking, as you're talking about your daily planner, like that's something that I'm freaking horrible at that kind of stuff. Right. Like I'm I'm not a very organized individual, and I am failing in a lot of those ways, but it inspires me to be like, okay, just get 1% better. Yeah, look at Stu, 1% better. See, Stu, he's not that nice. He's not a nice person.
He's judging silently.
He is. He is. And anybody who listens is like, man, Stu's so nice. He never does anything rude. Yeah.
Failing.
Watch
Many
the
things.
YouTube.
Many things.
But it's true, and we talk about that often. Like, okay, these are the areas that I need to get better at, and but I think it's also important to identify those areas, and then you can either partner with or hire into some of those weaknesses. And I think that's key. Something that keeps popping in my head is so what does your wife do, and kind of what is her part in this whole real estate journey? Does she love it? Is she like, Doug, this is your thing, just make it happen for us and make it rain? Or is she really actively involved?
No, she's into it. She is not as into it as I am, but she is very supportive, for sure. And yeah, she is Navy as well. But yeah, she's been very supportive throughout the entire process. It's sad when I hear about people who, share their goals about real estate with like loved ones, and they're like, you can't do that. And I'm just like, God, that is so sad, and I think that's why it's so important to have, not just, friends and family members that are supporting you. Like, everyone knows that's great, but, having these people like in a mastermind group that can, you're sharing your weekly goals with them. And then a week later, they're like, hey, David, did you write, 6 out of 7 days in your planner last week? And you're like, no. And then they're judging you because you said you do it and then you didn't, and that's important, and it's not just the accountability part, but it's someone to motivate you. Going back to the mastermind, there's a dude, a great guy in our squad, Justin, and we joke because he gets frustrated because he does a lot with real estate, and I don't think he sometimes doesn't like rest and like relax enough, and so we joke that he quits real estate every week, and then he picks it back up again like after our meetings, so we gotta motivate him to get back into it. But that's the value of a mastermind group. It's not just the networking, it's not just the knowledge, but it's the accountability, and it's people to keep you focused on your why and keep you focused on what you're doing. And that's another thing that we touched on earlier, I think, is all the opportunities that you have in a mastermind group like this. But the downside to that is there's all these shiny objects, because there's so many ways to succeed in real estate. And you get in a mastermind group, you're like, wow, these dudes are doing, these guys are doing self-storage, these guys are doing RV parks, these guys are doing Amazon web. Like, I want to do all of it, but it's like, you can't, if you try to chase 2 rabbits, you're going to catch 0 rabbits. So you gotta focus, you gotta figure out what you want to focus on and help, have your core group of support folks, whether it's your mastermind group or your friends and family, have them keep you focused on your goal. So
I think that's one funny thing about Stu that most people don't realize, because he's the numbers guy and he's very much, disciplined, but the dude he's like, hey, we should look at this, we should look at that, let's do that. I'm like, bro, like, he brought something recently. He's like, hey, we should get this license to sell these certain mattresses to do this thing. We could set up in our office. We could set up the like a showroom. And I'm like,
hey man, I'm just a serial entrepreneur.
Dude, you are. It's so funny though, because I don't think people see that side of you, and I love it. I think it's awesome, and that's an area where I'm like, okay, Stu, let's rein this in. Maybe let's focus on keeping some of our own properties,
hey man,
them off, and like
that side mattress business could have been could have been big money for
Could have been legit. It could have been legit.
legit.
And I'm not saying it's not going to be legit. Maybe a year down the road.
Yeah.
But no, that just made me laugh. That it just the differences and the dynamics. But you said your wife is active duty. So is your guys' goal to both retire, do 20 years and retire, or what are you guys looking at?
So TBD. I mean, I'm at 12 years. So actually 12 years last week. So I'm gonna do 20 just because it kind of makes sense to at this point. She doesn't have as much time in as I do. So we're just gonna have to see if he's gonna do 20 or not, because we do want to like not move all the time at some point, right? So we'll see. I mean, we're still keeping our options open as far as that goes. But yeah, no matter what, I'll be buying real estate. That's the plan. So either way, that's what I love about real estate. You can do it from anywhere. You know, we could live internationally and still do real estate stuff. So
well, it's awesome for you guys. You both have a VA loan. It ups your number of properties that you can get conventionally. Like there's so many, for those of you married vets out there, there is a ton that you can do with that in real estate, which is, pretty. I'm about to make my wife go get in the Navy.
Yeah, we haven't used our VA loans yet either. So something we're looking forward to for sure.
Yeah.
It's good stuff, man. David, does your wife say, "Hey, David, make it rain"?
No, that's actually never, I don't even know why that popped into my head. Like, that's not really part of our normal lexicon, not something that you and I say, or even, I just imagine other people like Doug and his wife say it. Like I can see his wife saying, "Hey, Doug, make it rain." Maybe not. I don't know. It just popped in my head in the moment. Is she aviator? Is she's aviation as well?
No, she's a JAG.
A JAG. Okay. Awesome.
I'm surprised you didn't give your aviation joke there earlier, David.
Yeah, it's I don't want it to be played out. I want to drop that when it's yeah. And Doug's not really, he's not the typical. What do you fly, Doug?
So in the fleet, it was Super Hornets.
Wow, you're a very atypical, me being judgy, you're a very atypical pointy nose guy. No, I think it's awesome to highlight, and really why I'm asking, was just kind of digging into the family is there are, I think there are so many untapped resources that we have at our fingertips as well, and when you look at like just the dual income and like people don't think, I've always thought, okay, if I was, when my wife and I were dual income, we're very, very focused on living off of one income and putting the rest away and then using that money to buy real estate and do different things. And I think even those things that seem like simple concepts, I don't think people necessarily, it's just not always intuitive because we haven't been taught to think that way. We're taught to think, okay, I have $200,000 coming in because we're both officers and we both make $100K a year, whatever. We should maximize our benefit and buy a house that's, $750,000 because we qualify, instead of, because that's what the culture tells us. That's what this American ideal tells us, that's the way to do it. Instead of like, hey, I can get a really awesome house. We can put it in one of our names, use the VA benefit. I can qualify for a $400,000, $350,000, $400,000 house on my own. Take all of your money, put it into savings or put it away, and then use that once you build it up to go buy real estate and create passive incomes. I just don't think it's where it is intuitive for us at this point. It's not necessarily the natural way that people think about it, especially with all the pressures that we face in this country and the materialistic nature of how our culture runs. And I just wanted to highlight that there are so many opportunities, especially I think one of the most powerful couples and the things you can do in real estate is a dual military couples.
It really is. It's really underestimated. And just kind of building on what you were talking about, I think something that's overlooked a lot is when you have, even if it's just one person that's in the military, but especially if you have dual mil, those are very, generally speaking, very stable, secure jobs. So I think that the fact that those jobs are very stable allows you to be riskier in your investments, because you're not someone that's going to, at the risk of like, you could get a 2 weeks notice at any time and be like fired. Like that's not a thing in the military. Like, assuming you're not, breaking the law or something like that. Like it takes a while for you to out process and all that. So the fact that you have a very secure 9 to 5, I think allows you to be a bit riskier in your investments. So, but people don't really talk about that. But I think that's another big advantage.
Yeah. Our mutual friend David Bray, I think he had, I don't know if it was a separate podcast that he did, or he was talking about being in the military. I mean, you're already, if you're not being really dumb with your money, you're already like at financial freedom level like 1. You're basically having all your housing allowance paid for. You're having a allowance for like food, and you have like a paycheck every 2 weeks. I mean, you have all of these things for you already in place, to where like if you just live below your means, I mean, you're already at financial freedom. And so, if you live smartly and you're living at like a 50% savings rate, 60% savings rate, something like that, man, you can do a lot and invest and be really smart with your money and do really big things if you're just a little bit savvy with your money,
Yep.
and you're smart with it.
And our taxable income is lower. College paid for free, GI Bill, assistance, yellow ribbon, plus the VA. And another thing people don't talk about is the healthcare. Like, I have friends who are civilians who they're like, oh yeah, we had a kid, and it was like 25 grand or something to like have a kid. And it's like, you don't pay anything in the military for, like, maybe it's not the best healthcare in the world, but like, you don't pay anything for it, and
I was looking for a refund, dude. Like I didn't pay anything into it with the kid, and I was looking for a refund on the kids, man. And they don't.
He's like, can I get them back?
They don't do that either. And I'm like, are you sure? Come on.
Can you take them
No,
back, please?
I think you highlight a really and also an awesome point, Doug, is that the risk factor, and it would hurt. It would hurt if you, but say you lost 50K right now in through investing and whatever the means was, like, would you be, I mean, it would suck. And I'm not trying to minimize it, but would you be like broken, right? Would you be out of the game? Would you be concerned that you weren't going to eat again?
No, I mean, it'd be tough, but it's, that's one of the values of having stable income, and just being in the mindset of learning from it and just kind of moving on, and counting it as, an expensive way to learn something. I don't think it's, that's something with real estate where, even if you lose money on a property 1 year, like you can offset those losses in your taxes. And, so I think there's a lot of ways in real estate where you can take advantage of things like that and make it hurt less.
Yeah. Well, Stu and I, we didn't have student loans because we went to the academy, but I tell you what, I feel like I've paid for a college education at this point through real estate.
Stu, I want to see, do you have pictures of that sweet Tahoe you got with the USAA loan?
Man, I'll have to find some. I mean, it was pretty sweet, man.
I bet it was sweet. I love Tahoes.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
it was that two-door kind, like they don't sell those anymore.
It was awesome.
Yeah, I did some dumb stuff, but man, this is good. It fires me up to just like, see how well you've done, and it fires me up that you are inspiring others to do the same. And I like you get really excited about talking to younger individuals who have so much more runway in front of them to do great things. And if we can just have one conversation or say one thing or invite them into a group or give them one piece of advice, that it could totally change the trajectory of their life. That really excites me, and I love where your mindset is. I love where your why, and I love that the action steps that you've taken, and it's good stuff, man. So I commend you and proud of everything that you've done. And I can't wait to see like where you're headed. And like Dave said, like we're ready to go do stuff together, man. Fire us up.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Stu. And I owe a lot of my success to you guys. So thank you for that. And, if anyone out there does want to chat real estate, personal finance or whatever, just let me know. Just go to @Honor&Equity on Instagram or send me an email, Doug@honorandequity.com. I like chatting with new people and just especially chatting about real estate, but personal finance, investing, all that kind of stuff as well. I enjoy it a lot. So feel free to hit me up on Instagram or via email.
And I tell you what, you are a great Storehouse ambassador, but also war room ambassador. And I'm amazed at like how many people will come into our network via Doug. He's a good networker. So and I know he's putting
like that. That's like my favorite part about it is like just chatting with people about it and connecting them, because it's I want them to benefit in the way that I and others have benefited as well. So I enjoy seeing others succeed. So that's a big part of it too.
Yeah, we heard something earlier, a gentleman, and this will come out in a later podcast, but he said to be a conduit, not a bucket. And I think you're a great example of that, a conduit of connection and not just a bucket with a hole in it. So I think that's awesome, man. So we appreciate you, Doug. Keep crushing it, man. I really do look forward to, I have zero doubt that we will be doing a deal together, multiple deals. I look forward to what that looks like. And it's just, and really not anything more than it's the people element, right? You find these people, you find these gems that you just want to continue to partner and be next to and be challenged by and be lifted to newer heights. And man, you're that guy, dude. So it's awesome. And once I'll let you know when I drop Stu, and we could partner up and on a more permanent basis. And
the other funny thing is as long as we've known each other, which it's been a while. It's been like fall of 2018. I have not met either of you in person. It's all been phone calls and like Zoom, which is kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah, we're hoping to rectify that here in the future with some Storehouse retreats and stuff. So we're looking at some things once we get out of the military and get back to Colorado. So it'd be awesome.
How far are you guys from Telluride or Wolf Creek?
We're a bit of a distance from there.
Yeah.
Where's your nearest ski area there?
Keystone, probably.
Yeah, Keystone.
Epic Pass.
Yeah, all the Epic Pass.
Epic Pass.
Got to get that.
Speaking my language.
That's right.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Well, Doug, thanks for coming, man. This was fun. We appreciate you. And for our listeners, reach out to Doug. He is an absolute wealth of knowledge, and he will get you down the right path for sure. David, you got anything else? You got any smart, funny things to say?
Nah, man, they're all used up, Stu. I love you, buddy. I would never dump you. I would never dump you unless something better came up, which
it's my line to ask for the new best friend, not yours.
Yeah, but I honestly think, and Doug can, he can verify this or not, but I think people are starting to feel sorry for you.
Oh.
Yeah. I think people are starting to feel bad that nobody's taking you up on it. So
we just don't talk about it. There's lots of phone calls after.
I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
I'm super jelly. Super jelly.
All right, folks. Well, go listen to this, share it, subscribe to this podcast, give Doug 5 stars, and most importantly, go fill your storehouse.
Thanks, a great day, friends. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it.
See ya.
See you.